Welcome, and thank you for taking time to learn more about the Interstate 94 and Sunset Drive Interchange project. The project is being undertaken by the North Dakota Department of Transportation in cooperation with the Federal Highway Administration and the City of Mandan. The consultant team from Mead & Hunt is assisting the North Dakota Department of Transportation with this project and will be presenting information on this project today. My name is Chris Rossmiller, and I am serving as the Consultant Project Manager for Mead & Hunt. With me today, I have members of our project team, including our lead traffic engineer, Kyle Roberts, Jason Owen, our lead roadway engineer, and Amy Denz from Moore Engineering, who is leading our environmental review for this project. Our agenda for this presentation includes an overview of the project. This includes some of the background and the need for the project, followed by some of the information about the existing interchange in service today. Amy will be providing a brief overview of the environmental screening process, followed by Kyle, who will be covering the existing traffic conditions observed and transitioning to the future conditions assessment for the interchange. Jason will then provide an overview of the interchange configuration alternatives being evaluated to address the future needs. This will also include a summary of costs and impacts associated with the alternatives. We will then close the presentation with the next steps for the project and information on how you can provide feedback and ask questions about the project. In 2013, the Bismarck-Mandan Metropolitan Planning Organization completed a study of the area north of Interstate 94 in Mandan. The study found that a significant portion of new growth in Mandan would occur north of the Sunset Drive interchange. The new growth would generate a large volume of new traffic that would funnel through the existing interchange. The report identified that modifications to the interchange would be needed within the next 5 to 15 years from when the study was completed to accommodate this new growth of traffic. At this time, I'd also like to note that the study identified needs along the Sunset Drive corridor, including an extension of Sunset Drive north to 38th Street. The corridor along Sunset Drive from Division Street to Boundary Street, located south of the interchange, and Old Red Trail to 38th Street, north of the interchange, is currently being studied under a separate project undertaken by the Bismarck-Mandan Metropolitan Planning Organization. This is a separate study from the information being provided in this presentation, and more information about that study can be found on the MPO's website by clicking on MPO Studies and Projects link. Additionally, there's also a link to the Corridor Study project website on the I-94 Interchange Exit152 project website. From the completion of that study in 2013, now fast forward 10 years, there has been quite a bit of growth along Sunset Drive and Old Red Trail, including the Comfort Inn, the Medical Plaza, and the Walmart, to name a few. More recently, continued signs of growth, including the construction of the new high school set to open in 2024, has begun. There's also been several other developments reviewed by the city, both commercial and residential, that will have an impact in the amount of traffic traveling through the interchange and how the current users travel through the interchange day to day to reach these new destinations. With that background, the purpose of this project we are presenting today is to develop an alternative interchange design that meets the future travel demand, provides safe, efficient multimodal traffic operations with minimal impacts to right-of-way, environmental features, and can be constructed at a reasonable cost. The need for the project is driven by changes and increases to traffic due to the new developments and growth. Along with this increase in volume, there's also accelerated deterioration of pavement that would be observed as the traffic continues to increase. The project will also address geometric deficiencies of current interchange, such as the skew of the ramp intersections as they intersect Sunset Drive. This can have an effect on safety and the operations of how those intersections work. We'll also be looking at the low bridge clearance as I-94 passes over Sunset Drive, which is currently more than 2 feet less than state standards and impacts the ability for trucks to utilize the interchange. Project limits for the study include Interstate 94 about 1 mile east and west of Sunset Drive. This starts at the scenic overlook along eastbound 94, located west of Sunset Drive, and continues easterly to Highway 1806, Collins Avenue, east of Sunset Drive. Along Sunset Drive itself, the project limits for the study begins at 18th Street, south of the interchange, and continues north to Overlook Lane. The study will also include the intersections of Boundary Street and Old Red Trail. Taking a look at the current project schedule. We are currently here in April with our first public input meeting. After this meeting, we will be reviewing public input, making refinements to alternatives, and completing the engineering and feasibility report, ultimately ranking and selecting a preferred alternative. We'll be coming back to present the rankings and preferred alternatives this summer, followed by completing the environmental documentation and beginning preliminary and final engineering, which will run through 2024. Utility relocations would be completed during 2025, with construction of the interchange currently scheduled to begin in 2026. Interstate 94 and the Sunset Drive interchange were originally constructed in the late 1960s. And the last major reconstruction of the interchange to the configuration that's out there today was completed in the 1980s. I-94 itself is an urban interstate highway running in east-west direction. The cross-section is a 4-lane interstate highway section with dual 12-foot lanes, a 4-foot left shoulder, and a 10-foot right shoulder in each travel direction. The travel directions are separated by a grass median, and within the project limits, the posted speed is 60 miles per hour. Sunset Drive is a principal north-south arterial, which serves as a thoroughway through the city, connecting the downtown and residential areas south of I-94 to the businesses and schools north of I-94. The posted speed limit through the interchange is 25 miles per hour. Under 94, as shown here, it has a 3-lane cross-section with a single northbound lane and 2 southbound lanes, with one of those lanes acting as a left turn onto eastbound 94. The roadway at this location is constrained by the bridge carrying I-94, so it really acts as a pinch point as volumes continue to grow. We also wanted to note that the trail currently runs along the east side of the Sunset Drive through the interchange. Once you get away from the bridge though, heading north towards Old Red Trail, Sunset Drive widens to include a 5-lane cross-section, with 3 northbound lanes approaching Old Red Trail, 2 of which are left turns onto westbound Old Red Trail, and 2 southbound lanes. Also through the interchange, there are several multimodal options serving the residents of Mandan. Bisman Transit provides bus service via the Purple Route, which enters the project area along Old Red Trail, connecting with Sunset Drive, running through the interchange and continuing south into downtown Mandan. The bus provides service daily with stops at Walmart and the Mandan High School in its current location. I previously mentioned the trail on the east side of Sunset, which is operated by the City of Mandan Parks and Recreation Department. The trail serves bicyclists and pedestrians through the interchange between Old Red Trail and Boundary Street. Also working in conjunction with this trail, the City of Mandan has several sidewalk facilities north and south of the interchange to provide pedestrians a connection between the residential areas south of the interchange to the businesses north of the interchange. And now I'd like to turn it over to Amy to cover a little bit more about the environmental screening process.
A preliminary environmental screening process was conducted to inform the alternatives development phase of this project. During the screening, information was gathered from publicly available sources such as federal and state agency data. Agency and stakeholder input was conducted through a solicitation of views process, which sent emails requesting information from each entity that they may have about the project area, such as known future development plans, special resources, or other information that they feel would be informative to our investigation. Land use within and adjacent to the project area has been developing significantly in the past 5 to 10 years and will continue to do so into the foreseeable future based on the local land use plans for the area. Alternatives development considers how a project could affect land use and socioeconomics in the area, including potential impacts related to environmental justice. For cultural resources, a Class 1 literature review was conducted for the project area to identify any known resources and whether these resources are listed or are eligible to be listed on the National Register of Historic Places. A lot of development and study have taken place in the project area and its immediate vicinity, which was very informative to the Class 1 literature review for this project. The initial findings indicate a portion of the Old Red Trail, also known as North Dakota Highway 10, occurring within the project. The next step will be consultation with the North Dakota Historic Preservation Office, otherwise known as SHPO, and also following the requirements of Section 106 of the Historic Preservation Act as it relates to historic properties. Biological resources include threatened or endangered species that may be present within the project area. Preliminary screening indicated that threatened and endangered species that could occur here are northern long-eared bat, piping plover, Rufa red knot, whooping crane, Dakota skipper, and the monarch butterfly. The Missouri River is also located east of the project corridor and contains critical habitat for the piping plover. Aquatic resources, such as wetlands and other water bodies, were evaluated using the National Wetlands Inventory data. The presence of mapped floodplains was also reviewed. Based on this office data review, there are no aquatic resources or FEMA floodplains located within the project area. Additional study will be conducted during the environmental document preparation phase of this project that will provide a more detailed evaluation of potential impacts from the project alternatives. This will include conducting field aquatic resource delineation once weather and site conditions allow. This will allow us to verify the office findings and stay in compliance with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Section 404 of the Clean Water Act requirements. Next, Kyle Roberts will tell you about traffic operations and safety.
The existing lane configurations, shown in gray, and the turn-based storage links, noted in blue, were inventoried to accurately code our traffic models. New 24-hour turning movement counts were conducted in December 2022 for all study intersections and interchange ramps, and were used to develop base year 2023 AM and PM peak hour traffic volumes. These lane configurations and turning movement volumes, supplemented with field observations and measurements, were used to build and calibrate the traffic models. Level of service, or LOS, is a qualitative measure describing operational conditions of an intersection or any other transportation facility. At intersections, LOS is a letter designation that corresponds to a certain range of roadway operating conditions. The levels of service range from A to F, with A indicating the best or free flow operating conditions, and F indicating the worst or congested and failing operating conditions. NDDOT provides guidance on LOS in the NDDOT Traffic Operations Manual that states the capacity analysis is one factor to determine recommended geometric design. The NDDOT guidance is to meet or exceed an overall LOSD under 20-year projected automobile traffic. Under existing conditions in our study area, signalized intersections are operating at an overall LOSC or better during the AM and PM peak hours, with several approaches operating at LOSD. The eastbound approach at the two-way stop-controlled intersection at Boundary Street operates at LOSF. Crash data was collected for the study area for the period from 2017 to 2022. During that time, there were 95 reported crashes along Sunset Drive between Boundary Street and Old Red Trail, with the highest density of crashes occurring at the Sunset Drive at Old Red Trail intersection. The majority of the crashes were rear-end type collisions, which can be associated with signal control and congestion. As the pictures show, several of the crashes involved trucks in the low clearance of the I-94 bridge. Future year 2030, or opening year, and 2045 design year volume sets were developed. In 2030, signalized intersections continue operating at an overall LOSC or better in the AM and PM peak hours, with several approaches operating at LOSD. The eastbound and westbound approach at the two-way stop-controlled intersection at Boundary Street operates at LOSF. In 2045, operations begin to deteriorate. Multiple intersections operate at LOS E or F during the peak hours, with several failing approach LOS. These results, in the need to accommodate future growth in the corridor, necessitate improvements to the interchange and adjacent intersections. 4 interchange configurations were evaluated, including a single-point urban interchange, or SPUI, a diverging diamond interchange, or DDI, a partial cloverleaf interchange, or PARCLO, and a diamond interchange with roundabouts. At the adjacent intersections, north and south of the interchange, improvements were also evaluated, including additional lanes and a roundabout option at the Sunset Drive and Old Red Trail intersection, and signalization and a roundabout option at the Sunset Drive at Boundary Street intersection. The 2030 level of service results show that all intersections under all alternatives would operate at LOS D or better. The 2045 level of service results also show that all intersections under all alternatives would operate at LOS D or better. Additional detailed analysis was performed for these alternatives, comparing additional measures of performance such as network delay, corridor travel times, and queue lengths, which are detailed in the report and help provide input into the decision-making process. Additionally, there are geometric and other considerations that Jason will detail in the following slides.
We'll be presenting 4 alternatives for the interchange area. Each one is unique in the configuration and how drivers will navigate them. The first alternative that we'll look at today is a single point interchange. Here you can see an example of one and how traffic is coming off the ramps from the main line and is condensed into a single area underneath the bridge. The idea of a single point interchange is to have the traffic passing through a central point where vehicle movements can be controlled from a single set of traffic signals. The navigation through the intersection is similar to a conventional diamond interchange, just compacted. As seen on the diagram here in the maroon dashed line, to turn left from a freeway ramp, use the left turn lane like a conventional diamond interchange. To turn right from a freeway ramp, use the right turn lane like a conventional diamond interchange as well. As seen here on the solid gold line, from the arterial, navigate the interchange like a conventional diamond interchange. Pedestrians use marked crosswalks to safely cross the freeway ramps. At single-point interchanges, crosswalks are not provided across the arterial. To cross the arterial, pedestrians may use the nearest marked crosswalk. Depending on their level of comfort, cyclists may navigate the intersection using vehicle or pedestrian paths. Shown here is the single-point alternative developed for the Sunset Drive and I-94 interchange, with the turning movements occurring under the I-94 bridges. This alternative will require the bridges to be replaced because of the extra width required of the single point configuration and the skewed angle of Sunset Drive to I-94. Looking at the insets, there's an option to include roundabouts at the ends of the project instead of signalized intersections. Because of these 2 options, there are 2 right-of-way impact areas and 2 estimated costs. The signalized option will affect 0.06 acres of right-of-way and will cost approximately $21.9 million. The single-point intersection with roundabouts option will affect 0.068 acres of right-of-way and will cost $24.4 million. On the environmental impacts, both options affect 0.06 acres of wetlands and will not impact the floodplain or cultural areas. Here we see what a typical section would look like if you were looking north on Sunset Drive and you were at the I-94 overpass. 2 lanes going northbound, 2 lanes going southbound, and 2 southbound left turning lanes to get onto I-94 East ramp. The second alternative that is being considered is a partial cloverleaf, similar to the one shown here with a loop ramp in the southwest quadrant of the interchange and traditional ramps to and from the interstate. The partial cloverleaf alternative that was developed for this project can be seen here. The loop ramp is located in the southwest quadrant of the interchange, allowing southbound Sunset Drive traffic to exit and then merge onto the eastbound I-94 traffic on the bridge. The loop in this alternative is longer to minimize the grade change from Sunset to I-94 and provide needed merging space between the bridge and the entrance ramp in the southeast quadrant. Because of this elongated ramp, the right-of-way impacts are more significant than the other alternatives. 1.29 acres of is impacted with the signalized option of the cloverleaf, and 1.4 acres is impacted with the roundabout option for the right-of-way. The partial cloverleaf signalized option estimate is $20.8 million, and the roundabout option is $24.1 million. For both options, there is 0.06 acres of wetland impacts and no impacts to either floodplain or cultural areas for both options. Here we see a cross-section of the partial cloverleaf alternative if we were looking north on Sunset Drive at the I-94 overpass. The design has one lane going both north and south, separated by a painted median, and a southbound lane that is the access lane to the loop ramp. The third alternative that we'll present is a diverging diamond interchange, like the one shown here. In the photo shown here, the diverging movements are shown on the bridge structure. Our alternative has the diverging movements on Sunset Drive. The diverging diamond interchange is different than a normal interchange. The biggest difference is the vehicle traffic crosses over and travels on the left side of the roadway through a series of traffic signals. Taking a look at the gold traffic movements on the diagram here, to turn right onto a freeway ramp from the arterial, use the right turn lane like a conventional diamond interchange. To continue straight through the arterial, follow lane markings and traffic signals to cross to the left side of the arterial, and then cross to the right side after passing through the interchange. To turn left onto a freeway ramp from the arterial, follow lane markings and traffic signals to cross to the left side of the arterial, then turn left onto the ramp. Taking a look at the maroon dash traffic flows, to turn left from a freeway ramp, follow the markings and traffic signals to stay on the left side of the arterial, and then cross to the right side after passing through the interchange. To turn right from a freeway ramp, use the right turn lane like a conventional diamond interchange. Depending on the level of comfort, cyclists may navigate the intersection using vehicle or pedestrian paths. Pedestrians use marked crosswalks to safely navigate the interchange. Shown here is the diverging diamond interchange developed for this project. As shown previously, northbound and southbound traffic will cross at signalized locations north and south of the I-94 bridges. Traffic will then follow signing and marking for the left turning movements onto the eastbound and westbound ramps to I-94. Right-of-way impacts for the signalized and roundabout options are virtually identical, with the signalized option having 0.40 acres and the roundabout having 0.39 acres of impact. Cost-wise, the estimated cost for a diverging diamond with signals is $26.1 million, and the diverging diamond with roundabouts option is $26.4 million. Environmentally, there is 0.07 acres of wetland impact for the diverging diamond with signals and 0.06 acres of wetland impact with the roundabouts option. There is no impact to the floodplain or cultural areas with this alternative. Here is the cross-section of the diverging diamond roadway if you are looking north on Sunset Drive at the I-94 overpass. At this point, traffic has already crossed, and the northbound traffic is on the left side of the roadway, and the southbound traffic is on the right. There will be another crossover point just north of the overpasses that will return traffic to the normal roadway configuration. The fourth alternative that we'll be presenting is a diamond interchange with a series of 4 roundabouts between Old Red Trail and Boundary Street. Here's an aerial view of a similar interchange configuration. The diagram here describes and shows how to make proper turning movements to and from on-ramps that utilize roundabouts at ramp terminals. Looking at the maroon dashed line, to turn left from a freeway ramp, enter the roundabout and exit onto the third leg. To turn right from a freeway ramp, use the roundabout and exit onto the first leg. Looking at the gold traffic movements, to turn right onto a freeway ramp from the arterial, enter the roundabout and take the first leg onto the freeway entrance ramp. To continue straight on the arterial, enter the first roundabout and exit onto the second leg. Then continue to the second roundabout and exit onto the second leg again. To turn left onto a freeway ramp from the arterial, enter the roundabout and take the third leg onto the freeway entrance ramp. Depending on the level of comfort, cyclists may navigate the interchange using vehicle or pedestrian paths. Pedestrians use marked crosswalks to safely navigate the interchange. Shown here is the diamond interchange with roundabouts layout that was developed for the project. The eastbound and westbound I-94 exits are the same as with a traditional diamond interchange, but the ramps lead to a roundabout intersection instead. This alternative has been developed with roundabouts at Old Red Trail and Boundary Street to provide better traffic operations through this corridor. This alternative does not have an option to include signalized intersections at Old Red Trail or Boundary Street, and were not included because it did not meet the standards of level of service for the corridor. The right-of-way impacts for this alternative are 0.45 acres and the cost estimate is $23.9 million. 0.03 acres of wetlands will be impacted, and there are no impacts to the floodplain or cultural areas for this alternative. Here's a cross-section of the roundabout alternative looking north at Sunset Drive at the I-94 overpass, with 2 lanes northbound and 2 lanes southbound. Here we have an alternative comparison for each of the 4 options that we are proposing. We compare the right-of-way impacts, the wetland impacts, and the approximate costs for each of the 4 options. The traffic operations meet the level of service criteria for the 2045 design year for each of the alternatives that we are proposing.
Now looking at the next steps for the project. The comment period for this meeting will remain open until May 5th. We would like your input and views on the alternatives presented here tonight and any questions that you have about them. Please let us know what you liked or did not like about the alternatives presented here. From there, the team will be reviewing the feedback from the meeting and making refinements to the alternatives. We will be working with the Department of Transportation to rank the alternatives and select a preferred alternative when considering the traffic operations, geometrics, safety, environmental impacts, a review of the construction staging needed to construct the alternative, cost, and of course the public input received on the alternatives. Following the selection of a preferred alternative, we'll be scheduling a meeting this summer to come back and present the rankings and the preferred alternative to the public and hear any comments or feedback that you have on the project. The team will continue to work to prepare the environmental document for the project and developing construction plans. We would like to thank you for taking time to learn more about the Sunset Drive Interchange Exit 152 project. Your feedback is very important to us. It is an opportunity for you to communicate with project design staff and relate information and ideas that may be beneficial to the designers as they work through the design process to improve this interchange. We encourage you to review the exhibits and handout materials and let us know your thoughts on the alternatives presented today. If you have any questions or comments about the alternative or about the project in general, please reach out to us in writing or by email using the contact information listed here. All comments must be emailed or postmarked by May 5th. Also, if you haven't done so already, please return to the project website and fill out the sign-in sheet and the North Dakota DOT Title VI Public Participation Survey, as this helps the North Dakota DOT to receive federal funding. Thank you again for attending this presentation.